what is a frozen set? Yes, Paras has written a comment which says frozen set locks the set. Yes, so if you want to make any object that should be unchangeable in any form, then you can convert it into frozen sets. So in sets also, we saw that though sets are unchangeable, meaning that we cannot mutate them, they are immutable, but we could still add elements to the set. Okay. If you want to make your set unchangeable, that no addition of elements or removal of elements should be possible, you can convert it into a frozen set. So let's say I have this set, or let me just declare a list first. Mm. Okay, these are the elements of the list, and I am converting it into a frozen set by passing the list inside the frozen set constructor. Okay, you could see that it is following all the properties of a set, which means the elements are arranged and no element is repeated twice. Okay, if you check the type of this object, the type is frozen set. And if you check what all functions are available, which can be applied upon this object, these are the functions. And these functions, that is difference, intersection, disjoint, subset, superset, these functions are present for set as well. But there is no function available for adding the element or discarding the element or removing the element. Okay. So if there is any kind of data object that you want to be converted into something that is immutable, unchangeable in any form of or manner, you could convert it into frozen set. Okay. Now, talking about the next task that I assigned, which was to declare a dictionary if with a Boolean key. Now, what I'm going to do, let's declare a dictionary. So, uh, let's have a key that is integer, and let's assign a value to it. Okay. Now, I'm going to have a key which is string, and I'm going to assign a value to it. Okay. And I'm going to declare a Boolean key and assign a value to it. Okay. So when I run this, you would see that the key, which is 1 and has a value integer, this value got overwritten by Boolean. Can you guess the logic behind it? Why did it happen? Yes, guys. Yesterday we studied something and we got to know that dictionaries do not allow duplicate keys. And when I declared a key 1 and a Boolean key that is true, the values got overwritten. This is because 1 and true, they are considered as one same thing, and true will then be considered as the duplicate key of 1. And we know that the last occurrence of this key is going to be assigned as the final value. Okay, you would observe the same thing if you use false. See, if I'm using false and I have a value associated with it, nothing unique happens. But if I have a key that is 0 and it also has a value assigned to it, you can see that now in the resultant dictionary, we are not getting this false key. Rather, the value of 0 is overwritten and the value is Boolean. Can you relate these two things? Like 0, it is considered as false, 0 and false, they are considered as one single thing, and 1 and true, they are considered as one single thing. Okay. If these elements are individually present, which means if there is only true and there is no other key which is either true or 1, then there is no significant change and the key has the same value that you have assigned. However, if both of them are present, then you know that duplicacy is not allowed and the last occurrence of that particular key is going to get assigned with the value. Can you give me a thumbs up if this concept is clear to you? Okay. All right, let's start with if and else, which are the conditional statements. So you guys very well know that whenever you want your program to make a decision, you use if and else statements. There is also a third statement which I'm going to add, that is elif statement. So if it's you guys can use when you have one single condition and you want to decide the course of action based on that condition. Else is a default case and it will be executed if this condition is going to be false. And elif is the Python equivalent of else if, which means if this is wrong, then please look into this condition. Okay, I believe everyone knows a great deal about conditional statements already. So we are just going to dive into the syntax for it. Okay. Now for that matter, I'm going to declare two numbers and I'm going to take the input from user. So you guys now very well know how to take input from user. So we are going to use the input function and take a variable number and do the same for num2 as well. Okay. Now I just want the program to give an output based upon which one of the number is greater between the two. So let's start a condition which says if number 1 is greater than number 2, then print the statement that number 1 is greater and number 2 is the lesser one. One thing that we'll be doing here is that either I can write the message directly into these inverted commas in form of a string, or I can use a concept that is known as f string. Okay, this f string, it is quite similar to what we did using the format function. Okay, because both of them does the same task, which is to format the string, which is to concatenate an integer and string together. Okay, so it is easier to make an f string. You can simply write f before the string. And now we know the concept of placeholder, so we are going to use that. So if number 1 is greater than number 2, if this condition holds to be, please display number 1 is greater than number 2. Okay. So inside the placeholders, which are the curly brackets, I have mentioned the variable names. So the respective value will be pasted here. Let's see how it is going to look like. So I have run the cell and I've been asked to input a number. So since the condition holds to be true, the body of if executes. Now, two things that you should pay attention here is that once the condition of if has ended, in Python we put a colon. And since there is no concept of defining a block of statements, which in other languages you would define using curly brackets. Okay. So all the statements which belong to the body of if will be written inside these curly brackets, but there is no concept of block of statements in Python. So what we are going to do, we are going to make sure that the statements inside, if they are indented, they are aligned together. Okay. And that's why as soon as I put this colon and enter to the next line, the cursor automatically shifts to the right side. Okay. So if you want your if to have another set of statement, these two statements, they are part of the if body because they are aligned together. And this statement, it is out of if. Okay, the body of if has ended here. So indentation, it plays a massive role in Python with regards to all of these statements. And also you are going to use the same in iterative statements as well to define the body. We are going to use them in functions. We're using them in classes everywhere where you have to define a block of statements. All right. Please give me a thumbs up if everything till here is clear to you guys. Okay, I guess it's quite basic. Now, Obviously, my program is going to run if number 1 is greater than number 2, but there is no condition defined if this is not true. So we need to have an else part. And here we are going to write that if this turns out to be false, means that number 1 is less than number 2. Let's try the same. So we have a condition to handle this scenario also. Now there could be a third case here where the two numbers could be equal. Let's see what happens if both of them are equal. So in this case, it says 7 is less than 7. And why is it so? Because the first condition, it turned out to be false. Number 1 is not greater than number 2. And automatically, else has executed. But this does not mean that the program is working well. We obviously see that these two numbers are not equal. So let's put another condition, and that is the elif block. Okay. So like I told you, elif is the Python equivalent of else if, and you can mention as many elif blocks in your program as you like. Okay, depending upon the number of conditions you have. All right. If can exist alone, we all know that, but elif and else, they cannot exist without if. Okay, so if should be a mandatory block for you to write elif and else. I guess this everybody knows. So let's write the condition for elif. Now we have a block to handle the condition of equality as well. Please take a moment to look at the indentation and how I have written the conditions. I feel that you won't be taking much time to understand it because this is quite basic. Just pay attention to the syntax. That's it. And please give me a thumbs up if you understand the indentation part, if you understand the syntax. Okay. Now you guys already know the existence of nested sequence. So nested sequence means when an object is present inside another object. List inside list, nested list, tuple inside tuple, nested tuple, if else inside if else, nested if else. Okay. Similarly, nested loops and so on. We all know about that. So it doesn't matter how you write based upon the situation. You can modify your if, elif, and else conditions, and basically you can decide the course of your program. Okay, I think I don't need to tell you about that. But when we have conditions which contain only one single statement that must be executed if these conditions are true, then we can use something known as a shorthand if. Okay, so when we have uh, very few statements, or better to say, when we have only one single statement that will be executed, if a condition is true or false, then it is better to use shorthand if and else. Now, what do these things do? Basically, they allow you to write everything in one single line. Okay, when you do not have multiple statements. So, what we are going to do? We will see how to write shorthand if else, and shorthand if elif else. Okay, let's start by if. So I'm going to take the two numbers that we have declared above. Right now, these numbers are equal. So I'll be writing only one condition of equality, just for the sake of making you guys understand how to write it. So if number 1 equals to number 2, this part till here is similar. Then you put a colon and you write the statement in the same line. Print both numbers are equal. All right, as simple as that. Now, let's say the numbers aren't equal. I am going to reinitialize them. Okay. And we need to have an else part also. So I'm going to write the else part along with the if. So here we will understand how to write shorthand if else. So firstly, I'm going to write my first condition, which is if number 1 is less than number 2. Okay. Now, once this condition is written, the body of this particular if will be written on the left hand side. Okay. If this holds to be true, what you want to print or what you want to do should be written on the left hand side. So here I'm writing print an f string and which says number 1 is less than number 2. Okay. But if this condition holds to be false, then the else part, it should come at the right hand side, followed by the statement that you want to print or you want to execute once the condition is false. So this should say number 1 is greater. All right. I'm going to repeat once again how I did it. If you are going to write the whole statement in one single line and in one single go, you might be confused with it. So firstly, write your if condition. The statement, the body of the if should come on the left hand side, then else on the right hand side, and the body of else, the statement that belongs to else on the extreme right. No colon has been used anywhere in writing this whole statement. Okay, the statement is working, that's fine. Please give me a thumbs up if you are understanding shorthand if and else. Okay. Now, what if I have three conditions? So, which means I want an if, an else, and an elif. Now, please pay attention on how to write this condition. We are going to use the same variables to do that. So, firstly, if number 1 is less than number 2. Till here, everything is same. The statement that belongs to this if should be written on the left hand side. And I have simply copied it from the above code. Now, if this turns out to be false, then there could be two scenarios. One, either both of the numbers are equal or number 1 is greater than number 2. Okay. So this, in the same manner, you are going to again write an if for this else part. Basically, if inside else. So in that manner, you have to write it. So I'm going to write my first condition, which is if number 1 equals to number 2. Now we need to mention that both of these numbers are equal. So print both are equal. Okay. If this turns out to be false, then there must be an else condition, and else is going to say that number 1 is greater. Right? The whole thing should be written in one single line just for you guys to see it. I have mentioned it in two separate lines. Let me just recall what we did. Till here, everything is same. First condition of if and its body on the left. On the right, we have else. And again, we have written another set of if and else. Okay. The syntax follows the same. Condition of if, its body, else, its body. All right. Now, please give me a thumbs up if you understand it and if it is clear. Okay. Now, to understand the nested if part, we're going to do one simple program. and that's it. And then you guys can explore nested conditions on your own. So there is one very easy program that is going to tell you whether the number is positive, negative, or it's a zero. Okay, I believe everyone can write this code, but we are just going to understand it for the sake of getting to know what are nested sequences with respect to if and else. So let's take a number, and I'm going to take it in form of user input. After that, we are going to check the condition. If this number is greater than or equal to zero, then if this condition holds to be true, there could be two scenarios again. Either the number could be zero itself, which means we should print about it that the number is zero. Otherwise, the number could be positive. So let's write another set of if and else. So if number equals to zero, print that it is zero. And if this is not the case, then the number is positive. So mention that it is positive. Please look carefully at the indentation. This is my first condition, which contains nested if and else. These two things, they are aligned together. This if is aligned with this else, which means that they belong to one another. Then the body of if and the body of else, it is further indented towards the right. Now, if this is not the case, there should be an else part also. So let's write the else for this if, which means the else should align with this condition. So else print the number is negative. Let's run it. So for a positive number, it tells us that it is positive. For zero, it tells that it is zero. And for a negative integer, it tells that it is negative. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is the correct way to write this program. You could have written an elif condition. You could have done this in several ways. But we were learning the syntax of nested if and else, and that's why we did it in this manner. So please, again, I would say that please closely observe the syntax. Please pay attention to the indentation part, and rest everything. I hope that you guys will be able to figure out. Okay. So if everything till here is clear to you all, please give me a thumbs up. All right. Now I'm going to mention these are all the comparison operators. We have equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and less than equal to. I would request you guys to explore all of these operators with respect to if and else, and you can write some programs or you can solve some basic questions just to understand them. Okay. All right. Now let's proceed and let's understand how to use logical operators along with if and else. Okay. So to do that, we are going to take two variables. Let's say we have one user variable and the value is admin, and we have a logged in variable and the value for it is true. Okay. So when you want multiple condition to be checked at once, you can use logical operators, and we have three kinds of them: and, or, not. I guess you guys are already familiar with what they do. And is going to check whether both of the conditions are true, or will be checking whether either of the condition is true, and not will just reverse the result. So just let's just explore these. So I'm going to check if user equals to admin and logged if. So print, go to admin page. All right. If this is not the case, print wrong credentials. All right. Now, I guess you guys already understand. And if you don't, this logged in, since I haven't matched it or I haven't compared it to any other thing, it by default means that this will be matched to true. Okay. So you can either omit it or you can write it. That totally depends upon you. And for this condition, for this case, we get the result as go to admin page since user is also admin and we have also logged in. If for the same case, I use or and I change the logged in variable to false, I'll still go to the admin page because or is going to check whether either of the condition is true. All right, I guess you guys know about it. And let's check with the not operator also. So if not logged in, then we can print please log in. Okay. So logged in value is false for us. Okay, the last value is false. And what it does, it is going to convert it into true because we have used not operator. And that's why the condition of if has executed. If I change this value to true, it takes me to the dashboard because though the value is true, the not operator has checked it by converting it into false. All right, and that's why the statement print dashboard, it gets printed. All right. Now I told you that we have these comparison operators, and there is an operator that is called equal to. Okay. So quite similar to this operator, there is another operator which is basically the is operator. Okay. Now, if you study at the surface, both of them quite do the same thing. They check whether two things are similar. But how do they compare the similarities? This equal to operator, it is going to check whether the values are equal or not. Whereas this is operator, this is going to check whether these two objects that you are comparing, they are residing in the same memory location or not, which means they are exactly the same objects or not. Okay. So we have two operators to check it, is and not is. Okay. So let's explore the difference between these operators. And to do that, I am going to declare two lists. So there is a list which contains value 234, and there is another list which contains value 234. Okay. So if you are going to check for equality, this is going to result into true because well, the value of both the list is same. But if you are going to check whether A is B, then it is going to return false. And why is it so? Because these two values, they are residing inside different memory locations. And you guys can check it by using a function that is called the ID function. And if you write your variable name inside it, it will give you the ID of this variable. Let's do the same for B as well. And you can see that their IDs, it is different. Okay. So equals to operator, it checks for the value, whereas this is operator, it is going to confirm and check whether not only the values are equal, but also the two objects, they are residing in the same memory locations. Okay. Do you guys understand all that we have done related to the logical operators along with if and else? and the difference between equals to and is operator. Not is obviously the opposite of is operator. Okay. Yes, please give a thumbs up if till here everything is understood. All right, great everyone. So on this note, we are going to take a water break for 2 minutes and we will be continuing with the loops now. All right. All right, everyone. So we are going to have a look at the iterative statements, which are also known as loops. And in Python, there are two kinds of loops, which are for and while loop. So I hope you guys already know what is the difference between the two apart from their syntax. So can anyone tell me what is the major difference between for and while loop? Apart from the syntax, what is the major difference between for and while loop? Yes, while runs until a condition is satisfied. So for loop, you guys can use it when you know the number of iterations. Okay, when the number of iterations are basically fixed, it is better to use for loop in such scenarios. Whereas in cases where you have no clue how many number of iterations might exist, in those cases we use while loop because it is going to run until a condition is satisfied. Okay, so let's see the syntax of for and while loop. We'll be starting with for loop and we will see how we can use it and upon which objects we can use it. So basically, the loops they are used to run through iterables. Now, what are iterables? These are the sequence data types such as strings, lists, tuples, sets, dictionaries. Okay, all those things that we have studied. Okay. So if you want to do something repeatedly, well, we have to use loops and we know that. So we are going to see what is the syntax of for loop now. So first you start with for keyword. Then you have a loop variable. It could be anything. Uh, the naming convention for the loop variable is the same that we had studied for the normal variables of Python. Okay, there is no difference between the two. There shouldn't be spaces. There shouldn't be any special character. Shouldn't start with digit. Shouldn't be a keyword. Okay, these four things keep in mind while declaring a loop variable. Then we start with a membership operator, and after that we write our iterable. Okay, so my iterable here is the string, and I am simply going to print the value. You can see that The colon is also present here when you end the head of for loop. And the indentation part that we studied for conditional statement is also going to be present here. So please do not forget to mention this indentation. Without it, the loops won't work or you won't get the desired answer. Okay, so when we run this, we know that each and every character will be printed once on the screen. Okay. If you want each of them to be present in one single line, then we have this end parameter, which can take any value. So if you put comma in, as value for end parameter, each and every character will be separated by a comma. If you leave it empty with a space, sorry, not empty, if you put a space as value, so every character will be separated by space. Okay. So this is the end parameter for print function. Now let's say you want to write a for loop, but you have no clue what you want this for loop to do. Okay, you have no idea about what should be the result, or you don't want to figure it out now, you want to do it later. In that case, if you leave the body empty, you will always get an error. But if you want to go along with your program and you want to figure it out at a later stage, what you want this loop to do. So there is a statement called the pass statement. You can put it inside the body of loops or the body of conditionals. It is going to help you to ignore the body of that particular thing. Okay, be it if else, be it for loop, while loop, or at a later stage, classes, functions, all of their bodies can be ignored by using the pass statement. And you can go along by writing the rest of your code. All right. Now, in the same way, you can use loops on lists, tuples, sets, and dictionary and everything. But there is a catch when we are using loops upon integers. So let's say I want to print something 10 times, or I want to carry out a task 100 times. And in that case, I want to be working on an integer. So if you try to do that, let's say in, I have the intention of printing 10 numbers on the screen starting from 1 till 10. And according to my knowledge, I just wrote 10 here. Okay. And I expect this program to print all the numbers till 10. So this will return an error. And the error is going to say that int object is not iterable. And we know that loops work only on iterables. So how to handle this case? I believe that some of you might have an idea already. Do you know what should be done in this case so that I can convert this integer into an iterable? Yes, the range function. So there is a function that is called the range function, and it works. Uh, it can work in three ways. Either you can simply write a number, and what it is going to do, it is going to generate starting from zero, okay, till this number, these many elements. If you want to look, if you want to get the elements exactly, you can put it inside a list constructor and all of these elements will be displayed to you. Okay, these are 10 elements because I wrote 10 here, starting from 0 till 9. Okay, the range function will stop at this element. The other way to do this is to define a starting parameter as starting value as well. So in this case, it will start from 1 and go till 10. If you want to have a step count, well, you can have a step count and you can provide three values. So it is quite similar to the syntax is quite similar to what it was with slicing. That is a start value, a stop value, and a step count. The values could be negative as well. So if you want to start from -1 and if you want to go till -10, you can do that. Can you tell me, in this case, why do I get an empty bracket? Why the numbers are not generated? Yes, please tell me why the numbers are not generated here. Yes, it is going in forward direction. By default, the step count is 1 here as well, which means the direction is what? The direction is positive. The second parameter should be greater than the first one. Yes, this could be the other case. If you want it to be working in forward direction only, but you want the function to still work, then the first parameter should be greater than the second parameter. Okay, so both the answers are correct. Here the loop is going in forward direction, and you can make it work even with the forward direction if you simply just reverse the values. Okay. So what this range function is doing, it is generating as many numbers as you like. And these numbers, they are generated on fly, which means not until you pass them through list or tuple, okay, which will help you to generate these actual numbers, or you apply them in a list, you will not see the actual numbers. Okay. So here I can use the range function and I'll get as many numbers as I like generated from. All right. Now let's say I want all of these numbers to be stored inside a list. So how can I do that? Let's declare a empty list. Let's declare an empty list at top. And we know that there are two functions which can be used to add elements inside a list. The first one is append and the second one is extend. Let's see which of these functions can be used in this case. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to append this value of I with the list. And let's check the list. So you can see that all the elements are now part of my list. If instead of append, I use extend, this won't work in case of a loop. So if you try to use extend function inside a loop, it won't work to add the elements. So it's better to use append in all the cases. Okay. Looking at it, okay, how you are writing elements, how you are storing elements inside an empty data structure, you could use the same concept with the dictionary, with sets, and with all the other data structures that we studied. Okay, it is possible to do this for everyone. Now, can you take help of this code and create a user-defined list for me? This is a task for everyone, and we have to do it right now. Please take 5 to 7 minutes to do this. And you have to create a user-defined list. Take help of this code. Please don't use the internet. I know that you guys are better coders than me and you will be able to do it. So for this task, the user is going to tell you how many number of elements should be present inside the list. And the user will also enter each element. Okay. Please give me a thumbs up if you are starting to code it so that I have a clue that you guys are doing. Okay, both of us just attempting the problem, which is also attempting. Okay, guys, take 5 to 7 minutes to do this. Okay, thanks everyone who is replying, who is reacting. Paras has given me a piece of code. Yes, it works fine, but it would have been really great if you had also taken an input in form of how many elements the user want to enter. Okay, this is fine. This works well. Anyone else who could complete it? If the code is different than this one, please mention it in the chat box. Okay, Paras, since you could write this code, can you do the same for dictionary as well? Create a user-defined dictionary. Give me a thumbs up if you will be doing it. Okay. Please write a code for a user-defined dictionary. Other people, they can continue writing it. And when it is done, you can either mention your code or you can give me thumbs up. Yes, Vijay's code is also working well. Well done, Vijay. People who have done this already, please do the same for dictionary as well. I got a quote from Afan. Yeah, I have rectified the typo. Okay. The code works fine. The dictionary would be created in this case. But one thing I would like to mention here is that whenever you are declaring any kind of object, please do not use the same names as their constructors. Okay. In this case, no error will be occurred, but when you will try to use this constructor to construct any object, you will get an error. Okay. So you can try it, but this is not a good practice, I would say. So please use a different name. Okay, and it applies for every other object. For integer, don't use the same variable names as their constructors. Okay. Even if you assign if you create a variable with name print, it will be working just fine. But when you use the print function again, it will generate an error. Hardwick and Paras, they have given me some snippets of code. Let's try those. Yes, guys, well done. Everyone has done it correctly. Like I told you, you guys are better coders than me. Okay. So, if you guys are good to go, let's move towards the last concept that we'll be discussing with respect to loops. Okay, please give me a thumbs up if everyone is good to go. Okay. So the last concepts that we will be studying with respect to loop is known as comprehension. And there are two kinds of comprehension in Python, list and dictionary. Okay. So what do we mean by comprehension? Abhi, we have all written a code to define, to create a user-defined list. And on an average, we were using 4 to 5 lines of code to write it. Okay. Well, list and dictionary comprehension will allow you to do the same in one single line. So it is just like shorthand, a concept of if and else. So if you want to do the same, uh, what do? You start with these square brackets, and here you mention the loop for I in range of as many elements as you like, and whatever should be the output, what you want this loop to do. So basically, the range function will be generating 10 numbers, and you want these 10 numbers to be stored inside a list. So you can assign it to a variable, and you can check. So you have a list of these many numbers created for you. Try to do the same with a user-defined list also. If it is possible, come up with the code tomorrow. In the same manner, you can create a dictionary as well. So we are going to have a look at how to use list comprehension. Let's say I have two lists at my hand. So one is the list that contains keys. These are the keys, and other is a list that contains value. Okay. And I want to form a dictionary using these two lists. So how can I do that? Let's use the concept of dictionary comprehension to do it. So we start by curly brackets and we write the for loop. So for I, A. Now what I want to do is I want the key to be taken from this list and assign the value from this list. So there is a function called the zip function. And what this function is going to do, it is going to zip these two objects together. So if I write k comma b, it will return me a generator object. And if I pass it through list or tuple or list or tuple, or I run it through the loop, I'll get the objects generated for me. Okay. So right now, this has satisfied my intentions that I wanted to zip these two objects together, but not in this manner. I want this to be the key, this to be the value. The whole object should be a dictionary. So you can use the same function inside a loop. And what the output of this loop should be, you can write it on the left-hand side. Okay. So what I want to do is I want K to be the key and I want V to be the value. And I want to create a dictionary. And let's check. Okay, we get unhashable type for list. Let me just see what the error here is. Okay. Can you guys spot the error? For key value, this is correct. Just check the code again. Oh yeah, sorry. Yes, so the dictionary is created. What I was doing is there are two loop variables belonging to this zip object. One would be the key, obviously, another one would be the value. So I needed to have declared two loop variables for the same. And these two loop variables should be used here. I was using the lists, and that's why it was not hashing properly. So key and this key would be mapped with this value, and a dictionary would be created. Okay, so this is how you can use list comprehension and dictionary comprehension to create list and dictionary objects. However, this is not the only way to do them. And this is not the only limitation to this concept. You can use nested list comprehension, you can use nested dictionary comprehension. So it is a very vast concept. And in the next session, we will see how to create nested list comprehension and nested dictionary comprehension. This is only going to take a few minutes, and later on, we will start with functions. All right, with this, we are going to end the session today. I believe there is no homework of any sort. Just that please explore loops, for loop, and I'll also tell the syntax of while loop in the next session. And you guys can also explore on your own a little bit about loops, and you can try a few questions to basically try your hands on the syntax of loops in Python. All right. If there is no doubt, you guys can leave the session. If you guys have any doubt, we you can stay and we can discuss that doubt. Thanks for being so attentive and so patient. Yes, Paras, a map function, it is used to map the objects. Basically, it would be better if you understand map later when we'll be discussing Lambda. But it is used to, map the object of a list, map the elements of the list, and it is used for the creation of the same. And along with the Lambda function, we'll try to understand it. Let me write a simple code for you. So let's say we have this list, and we have this keys list, we can use it. Okay. And basically what the Lambda function does, it is an anonymous function. Do you have a minute, Paris? Can I explain this to you? Okay. So what this Lambda function is going to do, it is can take any number of variables, but it will always have only one single expression. So what I want to do, I want that whatever this a variable is, I want it to be multiplied by 2. Okay. This Lambda function, since it is a one-liner function, I can store it into a variable, and I can use this function by passing any value to this variable. Okay, so whatever value I pass, I'll get it multiplied by 2 and the result will be generated for me. Okay, now let's say I have this list and I want to do the same with each and every element of this list. I want every element to be multiplied by 2. So to do that, I can use the map function along with the lambda function. So map, it is a high order function, and if you read its block string, you will see that it can take a function, and the other argument that it takes is going to be an iterator. Higher order function are those which can take a lower order function as arguments in them. And what I can do, I can pass this lambda right here. The other argument in this case is going to be the iterable, basically the list upon which I want this lambda function to be applied. Okay, so I have passed this list. If we run this, again, we get a map object. It is a generator object, so the values will be produced if you pass it through a list constructor or a tuple constructor or run it through the loop. Okay, so what it has done, basically when earlier I was able to pass only one value, with the help of map function, I could apply this lambda function throughout this list. Okay, there is two similar functions which work in two different functions which work in similar manner. And These are filter and reduce. Okay. They are also higher order function which can take lambda as argument or any other function as argument. Okay, we'll be discussing about them as well, but I hope that I have answered your doubt. Yes, here int is our function, and enter elements or of the list separated by spaces. When you are going to enter the elements separated by spaces, all these elements they will be splitted, and they will be converted into a list, and then you have used map. I believe that there is no need to use map here. Let me see. Okay, you got it? It creates a list for you. So what map is doing is that whatever elements that you print and you are going to get them splitted by space, then map helps you to generate those objects by mapping and converting them to integer, because the split function, it is going to return them in form of a string. Okay, a splitted string. Let me just show you once. See, each and every element of this list is a string. So integer constructor has been applied to all of these elements, and they are converted to integer, and then we get a list of such integers. All right, Paras? Okay, guys, feel free to leave the session if you have no further doubt.